All right, guys. So here we are, end of week 3 for the AFC South. Granted, there's a game going on right now, game going on tomorrow night. Didn't really expect, at least the Titans Jaguars game, to go quite the way that it went. Obviously, very happy that it did, but it was not anything what anyone had expected to happen. I'm gonna get started though with probably the Texans Giants game though. I did get that game correctly in my predictions, as you can see over there, right here. I predicted the Jaguars to win, Colts to lose, Texans to lose, and Titans would play the Jaguars, so Titans to lose. But anyway, let's go ahead and go through that. So with the Texans and Giants, right? The game went a lot like how I explained it to go. I'm not really high on Deshaun Watson's decision-making ability when they need a big play. I know the guy is capable of just blowing the doors off of people, and he has several times. But when you need a good clutch play, he's not exactly the guy you want to turn to. Eli really hasn't been lately, but at least you know with Eli Manning, it's there. He can do this. He's done it several times. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings, right? And let's be honest, I hate to use the word he's due, but he was due for a good game. I mean, I think he threw 4 incompletions. You can look at the stats down there, right there. You could look at the stats there. I think he threw 4 incompletions with 2 touchdowns. I think he was just shy of 300 yards. That's a pretty impressive stat line for a guy that last week was getting his bell rung on a daily basis. But don't get me wrong, J.J. Watt had his fingerprints all over this game. If they didn't have J.J. Watt on the field, this game might have been a complete and utter blowout. The Texans' offense is really interesting to me for the sheer reason of all of a sudden they start airing it out, and there's 30 and 40-yard passes, and they're just going. But then all of a sudden they go 3 and out several times in a row. They just can't be consistent. I think Deshaun Watson does have a hard time taking what the defense is going to give him. He wants to make his own offense. And, maybe one day he'll get there. But as of right now, that's just not really working. The passing defense for the Texans clearly wasn't up to par. Like I said, Eli Manning threw 4 incompletions. That's just off the charts. You throw 30 times and 4 incompletions. I think it was a little shy of 30, might have been 28. But, come on. And then you've got Deshaun Watson on the other side throwing 40 times. And I think maybe he still had over a 50% completion rate. But, it's just how many times can you really let your defense keep bailing you out before, the chickens come home to roost? You just know that you got to make great decisions when you're playing against a quarterback that can play great. So I really expected that to go that way. I thought it was a close game. The Texans wasn't in position to win in the 4th quarter, I believe. But at the end of the day, it's just the trust factor. At the end of the day, you ask me, do you want Eli Manning or do you want Deshaun Watson as of right now for today? If you got to win a game today, who are you taking? And I'm going to take Eli Manning, and that's what happened today. So going forward, like I said, I would take Deshaun Watson. Young kid, I think he's going to be a decent quarterback for quite a decent amount of time. But again, he has to grow. He's going to learn, and he'll get better. So let's go ahead and move on to the Colts-Eagles. Again, this game I called that. When you've got Carson Wentz and Andrew Luck on the field, there's going to be some exciting things happening. Granted, field conditions were pretty rough. I'm not going to say that the sloppy play had anything to do with that, or maybe it did. It was raining pretty bad from what I saw. There was a couple fumbles and some interesting tips, and I think Andrew Luck got flushed out of the pocket. It was a sack, but I think on a dry field, he might have been able to plant his arm and stand back up. But, hey, it's football. You play in the rain. I'm not a huge fan. I like that there's a mix of domes and fields, but you got to play in the rain too. You're going to play in the elements. Both quarterbacks, I think, were pretty comparable for how they played. It's their receiving core. They again, there was some definitely up and down the field, a lot of big gains here and there, and I mean, at the end of the day, it just the Philadelphia defensive line was just all over the Colts offensive line. They just couldn't protect Luck enough to get there. I mean, that fourth quarter, they're on the 3-yard line, for crying out loud. A 4-point game, they have to go for it, and they come up with a sack. So that they're going to bring heat. It's the red zone, very limited. I mean, you got 12 yards in front of you that you're trying to squeeze all these guys into. It's a very difficult thing to do. And you know what? Hats off to Philadelphia that came back. They won. I mean, Carson Wentz didn't look as smooth as I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to come out and play fairly well. He didn't play horrible by any means, but I thought he was going to play a little bit better than this. I am constantly amazed at his elusiveness. I don't know how many times I thought Colts have him, he's sacked. Just these subtle movements. It's like this Tom Brady, Big Ben-esque movements where he just takes a sidestep here or he spins around backwards here, and it just makes the guys miss, and he buys that extra time and he's able to make the throws. Most of the time, I always feel like when I see quarterbacks do that aren't great, it results in an interception or a negative play, something bad happening. But, there's a certain group of quarterbacks that can do that, and they've been historically pretty good. I would put, Drew Brees can do that. A guy that probably doesn't get as much credit, but Russell Wilson does that very well. But as far as the game, it was a good game to watch. It was a nice back and forth. It was right down to the wire. Actually, all the games were pretty much, they could have been determined in the fourth quarter. So, for the AFC South, it was a really good stretch of games. Granted, only one team can win this. Only one team did win this week. So, let's go to the next game here. Let's go to the Titans-Jaguars. So obviously I watched this game wire to wire. Being a Titans fan, not liking the Jaguars, I can respect them though. I respect they got a really good defense and that we've been struggling offensively. And, we're starting Blaine Gabbert. Mariota's active, but, nerve issues, that's pretty dangerous to try to throw a ball when you can't feel a few of your fingers on your right hand. So the game starts, obviously, the Jaguars defense is just everywhere. They're all over us, and, our defense is playing really well too. But, the Jaguars are just teeing off on Gabbert, and finally they just blast. I looked at the hit, and I'm surprised Gabbert still has a head. He's tied up on the bottom. He got hit helmet to helmet on the top. It's a dangerous play. It's hard. I don't think it was malicious because it was just so instant. It was so quick. Like, there's no way that the guy who led with his helmet had any idea that he'd been tied around by his legs being pushed at him. So they have to call Mariota to come in, and Mariota, for more or less, just makes plays of the game with his legs. He does exactly what he needs to do to win the game. He very much so, like, when nothing's there, he tucks it and run it. He's not forcing anything. Made some decent throws to keep the ball moving, keep the clock running. Now, I sat here and I said, I was really impressed with Blake Bortles, saying, he's taking what the defense is giving him. He's playing so much better, and the only time that he always falls into that category where sometimes he tries to fit the ball in these windows that he just can't make. That was the Blake Bortles we saw today. We saw him constantly try to do these touch or these float or these sidearm passes, and he was just beyond the fingertips or just behind the receiver. And, they never really aired the ball out. They never tested the secondary of the Titans deep. I don't think there was one pass for either team that went in the air more than 20 yards. It just didn't happen. The defenses really locked down. They played hard. And, it was a grind-out game. I really like defensive games. I don't really like that the NFL has constantly manipulated rules to make it an offensive game. I don't like that. It was kind of nice to see that this game relatively was clean. I don't think there was a lot of questionable calls. I don't think there was even a lot of flags. It was just nice to see, like, these teams, these defenses just not wanting to give an inch. And that's exactly what they did. Calais Campbell was a monster. The guy just got through. And just, like I said, he teed off on Gabbert. He teed off on Mariota once. I mean, they're a great defense. But our defense today was, I would say, better because of the sheer reason that our offense wasn't playing at 100%. Mariota, you could definitely tell he didn't want to throw the ball long. He didn't really want to throw the ball. But he was the only active quarterback we had left on our roster. He had to play. So then you look at the Jaguars, who had everyone except for Leonard Fournette. We're missing our right tackle and Mariota. And Delaney Walker, I mean, he's gone for the year. That's gone. So I really like to, I was very relieved to get the win. My wife was, relieved to get the win because I'm always in a better mood when the Titans win for the rest of the Sunday. But anyway, so those are the four, three, usually be four, but those are the three games that that passed the Sunday for the AFC South. There is one thing I do want to mention. I really think that the NFL has to do something about these roughing the passer calls. I don't know if anyone saw it, but Clay Matthews, the Green Bay Packers, had a hit on Alex Smith that was as clean of a sack as anyone could have had. His head was up. He was going at him. He hadn't even thrown the ball. And they call him for, I think it was roughing the passer. I don't know if he let go of the ball or not, but it was just, it was absurd. And the week before that, same thing. It was the Green Bay Packers again. I don't remember who got to him, but Kirk Cousins. He got to Kirk Cousins. He was so afraid of getting that roughing the passer call. He let him go. And then Kirk Cousins threw the ball and completed for 15 yards. It's like, come on. The NFL, you got to step up and do this. Like, you're making it impossible for the defenders to do their job. I mean, at first it started off with the wide receivers that you couldn't touch them, couldn't breathe on them. And now it's getting to the point with the quarterbacks. Like, I get it. You don't want people getting hurt. Safety is a priority, and that's fine. But at what cost? Like, you're putting out this, like, how aggravating is it for a fan to see that? And just one last thing, like, Patrick Mahomes, the guy is just, he's unbelievable right now. He's playing so great. But can we all just stop anointing every young quarterback that has some decent qualities as the greatest thing ever? I heard it said about Mitchell Trubisky. Week 2, Sam Darnold was the greatest thing ever. The Jets were going to the Super Bowl. Calm down. It's been a year. Most of these quarterbacks are talking about haven't even played 10 games in the league. And they're already saying they're the next big thing. They're going to lead their team. The future is bright. We were there with Mariota. The first game, he threw 4 touchdowns. He didn't even play the fourth quarter. The more film that gets brought out to you, these defensive coordinators aren't stupid. They're going to adjust their game plans. They're going to appeal to your weaknesses, and it's going to make life tough. Like I said, I look at Deshaun Watson. Guy was on fire. Everyone said he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's the Michael Jordan. I said it last night. I'll say it again. Michael Jordan of football. Well, the Michael Jordan of football is not playing like the Michael Jordan of what the Michael Jordan of football should be. But all right, guys. Well, I'm going to tie this video up. It's getting a little long. Like I said, drop me a subscribe, comment. I'll get to all the comments I can. And thanks for watching.